Cape Coral, Florida is buzzing again. And there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about today that are going to affect the values of your property. So let's get started first and foremost with the Chiquita Lock. You've heard about this 100 times. This lock is in the Southwest Cape. It has been problematic over the years, whether it would the functioning of the gates weren't working and shut the whole thing down, whether it's too narrow. And at one point, we had to put a certain number of boats in the lock, opening one side, getting them in, closing that, and open the other side so that it lets the boats through. Typically, how a lock works. Well, after Ian, it still hasn't come back into play. So we've gone through the processes to figure out what would it mean if we didn't have it anymore, and how would that improve things, or would it be detrimental to, say, sea life? Manatees are greatly affected by everything that goes on in our waters because it's all salt water where they hang out. That's where the lock is. So they can be hurt by that lock system as well. So it's being removed. One thing that I'm really interested to see, and I believe this is going to happen, there are hundreds of homes that sit behind that lock. And to this point, they've had to jockey for position, know what time to go out. What are the tides like? You should see the water rushing through this lock right now as tides change. It's crazy. So put that into effect with some newbie boaters, some renting boaters. There's a lot of different situations out there. So the removal of this lock is huge. It could change the values of those properties. So if you're somebody looking to buy golf access, especially in Southwest Cape, this might be the perfect opportunity to get in. The project starts April 1st. All boaters behind the lock cannot get their boat in and out. If you want to get out on the boat, anytime between April 1st and sometime in June is when they're saying June of 2025, then you need to get the boat moved somewhere else now, or you just won't be able to use it other than tooling around within the canals. Anyway, that's one big change that's happening. There's a bunch of other changes that are happening that I almost have to share my screen to show you because this is pretty darn cool. I found a way, and I'm going to put the bit.ly link down below so that you can have access to this as well. It is this interactive map. Now, this map is going to do a number of things. You can see on the left-hand side, development projects. The orange is in review, the yellow's been approved, and the green, the work has begun. Also, for all you boaters or people that are interested in the waterways, you can see the canals fresh and salt. Salt is all the darker colored, all these darker colored canals, that's the salt water, and the light blue is fresh water. So that'll help clear it up for all of you that aren't sure. When we look at this, we've talked about a couple things along the way. This yellow piece right here, we can see that this is right down here, description, Cape Coral Town Center. That is where the town center is going. We've talked about this numerous times, but every one of these things is going to affect your neighborhood. So if you were somebody that's entertaining a certain area, it'd be really helpful. Let's see, this orange one right here. You got all these homes around it, and it's always been a Cape Coral city property. And this is one of the things that we do as real estate agents is we check and balance everything to know what's going on in your neighborhood, how it's going to affect your values. And this is something that wasn't probably looked into too much previously, but it is currently being planned for the Lee County District School Board. So they're looking at putting a K through 8 school here. Now, do you think any of these people in this neighborhood knew it was going to be a school when they moved there? Probably not. So those are the things that we're going to be looking out for. Part of my job to help you make transitions is to show you all this information and keep you informed. There's another community coming in right here. Embers Lake is what they're going to be naming this. And Embers Lake is just below Stonewater. Stonewater is these three lakes right up above it. Oh, we keep zooming in. Zoom, zoom, zoom. All right. Yeah, these three lakes right there. That's Stonewater. So right below it's going to be Embers Lakes. And then we've got this one over here that is another project, Siesta Lakes Apartments. So I think we talked about before all the construction on the building here. So if you're somebody in construction in any part of the field of construction, you can see there's a ton of work here. There is a lot of stuff going on. Another apartment complex down here. This has been going on. It's now being filled with people, in fact. And down here, all of these, the green, the yellow, they're all there for multifamily projects. So many of these right here. What's really interesting too is this one. You see what that says? Walmart. That's going to be a full service Walmart. It's still in the planning stage. It hasn't been approved yet, but there is no super Walmart on the west side of the Cape Coral area. So if you that's one of the stores you'd like to go to, it's going to be put there eventually. But this is a great tool if you're entertaining going into a neighborhood, just want to know what's going on, how's it going to affect me like this. If I want to go in this neighborhood, I need to know that this is another apartment complex. Then I also need to come over here and understand that this is Sam's. Sam's has an apartment building over here already, and I believe we've got a couple others. But all of these will tell you what's going to be coming in, how it's going to affect you. Here's another Walmart improvement. They're going to put a fuel station into the Walmart. Wow, that's a big change. Did not know that. And this is another self-storage. Okay, I think we have enough storage place. But you see, it's not really on a main road. It's pushed back. That's just because it has to be now. Anyway, I will put a link down below for you to be able to tap into this. It's just going to be a bit.ly link. It'll say our next Florida home on it. Go ahead, click that. It'll bring you into this map, and you can do the same thing yourself. Just scroll around, mouse around, bring yourself up and down the road, see what's going in. We got Farmer Joe's, which we know has been there for a while, but this is where you get to play and figure out what's going on in your neighborhood. As we talk about property values, one of the things that we need to talk about is flooding. We had a flooding issue with Fort Myers Beach, obviously, and many other places. And now, if your property needs more than 50% of its value to repair the home, you have to update all the codes on the house. That's all of them. And if it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's what it's going to cost to take care of it. One of the things that's very expensive is elevating the home because you're not in a high enough elevation. Well, now there is a grant in place that is going to, and here you can apply. Some people have already started applying, but it's a federal grant that will cover at least 75% of elevating your home. That's huge. I mean, if it's a $100,000 project, $200,000 project, and you would have to foot the whole bill, that's problematic. So this grant could help out. I don't have all the particulars yet as far as repayment or if this is just a grant that's given, but that's something that'll show itself as we go through this process of adopting this into our processes. But this is again coming back to how things were going to affect your property value. And here's one that's going to be in the positive. You see this house behind me? I'm going to give you a quick tour so you can see what this home's going to look like on the Channel 4 news this week. And this is one of the things we like to do for our clients as well. When there's a beautiful property like this, we're going to highlight it in a very unique way. Okay, we have a true boater's paradise here. A 10,000-pound lift with a composite dock on an almost 300-foot wide canal. You want to go out for sunset cruises? This is one of the best places to leave it. And this opens right into the northern spreader. So you're going to be in the deepest water possible in the Northwest. Now let's go inside and look at this gorgeous home. This home is the 2022 build with just about 2,400 square feet, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, plus a den. The pocket sliders come together to a point, and when you open it up, it invites the outside in. The space that you get in the main living areas will accommodate any furniture setting that you have, and there'll be plenty of space for all the guests when they come down to visit you in Florida. Whether you're an aspiring chef or if you're just a beginner, this kitchen's gonna give you all the space in the world to handle all of it. And if you like to hold parties and need tons of space, your double islands in this gourmet kitchen are gonna take care of all of it. And when you go to cook, your Bosch appliances are gonna be the high-end stuff that you need to make it right. If this is the type of home that you are looking for and you're into the boating lifestyle, you really can't get much better than this. My name's Craig Cunha. Thank you for coming along to the tour and hope to see you soon. Since building a home is also part of establishing values, I want to give you a quick story about a client and what's happening to them during their new construction. We had a pre-drywall installation meeting just to go over all the things that are behind the walls before they start putting the walls up. And one of the things that was found in this meeting was that there were a few of the hi-hat lights, the recessed can lights up in the ceiling, obviously need to be put in or should be put in ahead of the drywall. This was missed by the builder. And the only way it was found was because they went to this meeting. It wasn't even on the prints. They put it on the prints when they started the process, but it never made it there for the people building the house. So they're going to go ahead and remedy that. But this is a very, very important lesson for all you out there that are thinking about building. There are these different meetings throughout the process of building where you get to go and meet with the builder. They can explain what's happened so far and what's going to happen moving forward. If you can't go, this is why you need representation that you can trust. If you can't go, I would have done it. I still showed up to support them and kind of go through it with them, and kept my eyes on things too, just to make sure we're pointing things out and asking questions about things that maybe don't make sense to us. If you're going to go through that process yourself, have representation. Know the representation with the builder is not the same. They work for the builder. They get paid a commission for the builder. They're working on the builder's behalf, not yours. Even if they say they are, it's not true. They're hired by the builder, so please get your own representation. It's already in the numbers. Every one of these builders pays compensation to an agent that's helping you buy. So you might as well get a professional that knows what they're doing, that's been doing it for quite some time. Hell, I've been in real estate for 20 years, and 8 of those years were with new home construction companies going through these exact same things. The next thing we're going to talk about is a new thing going on where we're trying to eliminate state tax. Sounds great. Now, I don't mean state tax, income tax. I mean property tax. That sounds great on the surface, doesn't it? Buy a home in Florida, pay for it one time, might be some taxes in the original purchase, but from there, no taxes. Here's a problem. Do you know what those property taxes pay right now? They pay for schools, they pay for firefighters, for policemen. Any of the public services that are out there come from this money. If it goes away, where are we going to get the funds to pay for this stuff? They've been floating all kinds of ideas out there. One of them is kind of troubling because they're talking about doubling our sales tax. 6.5% is what it is right now. So you want to go to 13%. Okay, that's going to make things a lot more expensive for everyone, including visitors, including renters, which that's what I want to talk about next. This is a great proposal for homeowners, but it doesn't help the renters at all. It's really kind of troubling to think that they could have higher expenses and still keep the same rent and have no benefits, no write-offs, no discounts, no anything. It's a tough spot. So I completely understand where there can be some grief from that side. And I was thinking that one way that this could be helped out is, you know how we have a homestead exemption, right? Homestead exemption basically says this is my primary home. I spend all my time here, or at least 6 months a day, and I use this address for like taxes, stuff like that. So it's my primary home. That allows me to get a discount when it comes time for the valuation of the property, and it's usually about $50,000. There are a couple other add-ons for like seniors and widowers and stuff like that, but in my case, it's just the 50. Anyway, the homestead does one other thing that's kind of cool. It caps your valuations from going up by more than 3% in any adjustment period. So my idea was, why not make an adjustment to the homestead deduction, and that way you're getting some cost savings against the property taxes, but it's only for people that are permanent residents, or have this homestead exemption. So if you got a vacation home, a second home, a VRBO, an Airbnb, any of those things, it doesn't apply. So the income wouldn't be completely eradicated, but it would be adjusted for those who have made the permanent decision to be here. Now, it's nothing that's been even talked about. I'm just throwing it out there in case anybody happens to see this that makes decisions like that. It could be a possibility. Anyway, another thing to discuss about the homestead exemption. This is why it's so important when you're working with a real estate agent that you get all of this information from them, and they should be giving it to you. You shouldn't have to ask for it. But what it is when you look at taxes on a listing, it's going to tell how much last year's taxes were. If somebody's owned a home for 15 years and their tax is only $6,000 and it's a $800,000 or $900,000 home, you should have some red flags raised. You should be hearing bells and whistles. That's a problem. So what the real deal is they probably have a homestead on the home, and it has capped them at 3% the entire time of that 15 years. So any adjustments in there, it's capped at 3%. So their $6,000 tax bill would probably be more like 12 or 13 for somebody else. And that's what's going to happen to you. When you buy that house, it's going to reassess at the new purchase price. You'll have to reapply your homestead, but it's applied at that higher rate. So you'll never see the taxes that they saw. Just need you to know that and make sure that you're getting this information when you're going through the process of making a decision on buying a home in Florida. Now, speaking of these things, one of the people that's affected by that last rule is affected by this next rule. Now, I don't talk politics and religion on this channel much at all. You kind of know where I stand just by the way I say things. However, there's something going on right now that could be very problematic. There's a lot of fixes going on around the country, a lot of wastefulness found. But one thing that's challenging is the tariff wars that are going on between Mexico and Canada. And lately, this latest adjustment, I should say, is with Canada. And when they come down to the United States, if you're 14 years old or older and you plan to be here any more than 30 days, you need to get fingerprinted and registered. If you do not, and you are found out to be here against those rules that were established, you could be fined up to $5,000 or 6 months in jail. That's a little troubling. I mean, they're supposed to be our friends of the North, right? And I get it. This is all about money. This is all about power play. This is all about positioning. Well, this is going to do something really bad to us. It's going to keep Canadians from coming here. And historically, they have been so great for Florida because it's the best place that the Canadians can go and get this kind of weather through the really crappy months and that cold they have up north. Well, they're going to be looking for another place to go now. Why would somebody want to put themselves through this if they didn't have to? Many of these people come down for a season. So we're talking 3, 4, 5 months. That's a problem. They're going to have to go through this process. And there's another side of the coin. There's other Canadians saying, hey, if I have to go to some foreign countries, I have to be immunized. I have to do all these other things. So what's the big deal? I don't know which side of the fence you sit on. I'm going to kind of play neutral on this one because I can see both sides of the coin. But if this is being done just for money and just for a power play, I don't know if I can support that. Another thing when discussing values that's going to be going on, and this is Go Bank Rates is the one that found this information or reported this. There are 3 cities that they're saying that will basically be the place to buy in the next 5 years. And number 2 on the list is Fort Myers and the surrounding areas. Now you might be saying to yourself, Fort Myers? Why would that happen? That place gets destroyed by hurricanes, and that place is already packed. There's nothing, there's nowhere to go and nothing to do. Ha. Okay. Well, there's all this construction going on. You saw it on the other map. Well, there's a map for Lee County that covers all the other areas that the Cape Coral one didn't. So projects are going on everywhere. Things are building everywhere. There's going to be a ton to do here. And the best thing about this and why this is happening, there's some really big cities very close to us that are much more expensive. Miami number 1, Tampa number 2, and Orlando number 3. And they circle us. So as it gets more expensive in those cities, we're seeing this constantly. People are coming from those cities. I'm working with a client right now that he's coming down from this Ted. He's coming down from Tampa, and we're working on transitioning him from his home to a Florida home down here. Now, yeah, it's still Florida, but this is Southwest. It gets a little warmer, gets a little more of that subtropical climate because Tampa can still be a lot cooler in the winter months than it is down here. Anyway, that's aside. That's what's happening though. These big cities are pushing their people to us because we're more affordable and we do still have a ton of space. If you go just west of Cape Coral, there's so much land out there. You can still build on that. North Fort Myers, tons of land out there too. And if you really want to trek out to Lehigh Acres, there's land out there as well. So lots of land and even further into the small towns like LaBelle and Alva, lots and lots and lots of land that could be built on. So we will be seeing this potentially happening in the next 5 years. And if that's the case, you already know what happens when the demand is there. We've had this happen before. Right now, the numbers are down on purchases because of that interest rate. Well, there's going to be a breaking point somewhere in there, and this place is going to explode again. So if you want to be part of it, Reach out to me, let me know. I'd be happy to help you so that we can get you your Florida home before it becomes even less affordable. Okay, so there was another report that Redfin did, and this one is also talking about values because there's this thing called rentership out there, and they evaluate the places that have the least amount of renting and the most amount of renting across the country. Now, you can imagine there's some cities like LA and Fresno and places like that that are way up 50% as far as renters. The lowest city in the United States for rentership is Cape Coral, Florida. I know, crazy, right? How the hell is that? It could be because we've had less rentals over the time, but I don't know if that's true either. We just saw all the apartment complexes that have come in or are coming in addition to all the rentals we already have on the market, whether they're VRBO, Airbnb. It didn't specify the type of rental. It just says our rentership is only 15.5%, making us the lowest in the country. Now, one of the caveats about that that makes that happen is values of homes in the area. So this is essentially saying that our home prices are low enough that people would rather buy than rent. And that keeps that number down. It's possible. I know that many of our homes are in the 200s again. So it's getting pretty favorable to buy a house, regardless of whatever you've heard in the reports. You got to get it here. Get the information from a source that's in it every day. I'd be happy to send the information to back it up and verify it for you. But we truly are a very affordable place overall, according to all these reports. Another thing that's going on in the area is something we once had and are now getting back. Down at the Westin, which is one of our best hotels in Cape Coral on the southeast side at the bottom, they have a water taxi. This water taxi goes over to Fort Myers Beach. Now, guests get to use this water taxi as part of their stay. If you are say, a resident of Cape Coral and want to use this service so you don't have to drive and stay in those hour-long lines to get to the beach, you pay 40 bucks a person. 10 o'clock is when they start, 2:30 is when they're done. So that's the hours that you're going to have to use the beach, but it saves the drive. And I'm going to tell you, I just had a friend tell me that he spent over an hour to get on the beach to go to an appointment. And when he finished that appointment, when he put GPS in, whether he went north or whether he went south, over 2 hours to go 13 miles back home. That is what these lines onto a island in Florida can take because they're one lane in each direction. So there's not a lot of traffic that's going to move. And as you know, speed limits are very low on these islands, and people are looking around, seeing the sights, watching the people. Yeah, people watching while you're driving, but it happens all the time. So you want to know why these delays are happening? It's not just because there's nowhere to park, it's because people are in their vacation brain and they're not thinking about how it's holding up the people that actually live here, have jobs here, and need to get stuff done. But that water taxi is something that is in service again. I believe it goes and docks over by the Pink Shell on the bay side. And then once again, it returns to the Westin in Southeast Cape Coral. Another thing that is going to be changing potentially in Florida is, do you know how some states have license plates on the front and back of their car? Well, what they're saying is that it helps to identify hit and run accidents more easily because you generally see plates from the front when something like that happens, right? So we're trying to find a way to cut down on hit and runs. And the other thing is we have a lot of uninsured motorists here. So we have to be able to trace these vehicles easier, more efficiently to make sure that the right people are, you know, held accountable for it. But we may get this additional license plate. I would say it's probably going to happen in the next year if it's already been proposed. There's been no approval for it yet, but just get ready. There could be an additional expense to put a second plate on your vehicle. Another change, it might save you some money. Have you ever gone to the restaurant and had a group of, say, 6 to 8 people, maybe 10, 12, whatever number that is, anything over, I think it is six, you have an automatic service charge put on your bill, basically a tip for the group, 18%, just to make sure somebody is paying the tip and not just walking away from the bill with no extra. I mean, those servers are working, especially for those bigger groups. So what they're talking about doing now is eliminating that auto charge to go on there. It's something that I don't know. It doesn't bother me to have that charge on there, but I'm going to tell you from right now, knowing my attention span at times, I probably have missed it before and paid a tip on top of it, so there's a double tip. Do I care? If it was a great place, I really don't care. But it's one of those things we're trying to conserve money wherever we can, right? And if we have to pay a tip twice because we're either not paying attention or the print was too small, and they're talking about that too. The print's too small and not bold enough. So if they make some changes to make it more noticeable, that could keep it in place. But right now they're talking about eliminating it so that we can save ourselves some more money in another place. All right, so that is some of the change that's going on around Cape Coral, Florida. If you're looking to come to the area and need more information, and this video is just a small piece of the puzzle. If you want more pieces, check out one of these other videos. And if you need to have a question answered that you just haven't heard yet, do what everyone else is doing, call, text, email, use our app, whatever it is. Reach out to us, get your answers that you need, and we're going to walk you through the entire process. And I just want to make sure that this is truly a seamless transaction for you because I truly do have your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.